Hey guys, what's going on? Shaw here, and today we are back with another Vault video. Few announcements. Later today, I'm going to be actually posting a video about the tier list predictions for tanks for next season when it comes to Mythic Plus. Also, because of the way that next season is going to be working, I'm actually going to probably be dropping a few characters, so probably won't be playing too much of the Death Knight anymore or the Demon Hunter. Unfortunately, I'm not pushing on them, nor are they characters I'm really interested in keeping up to date with going into the next patch for how short and how weird the loot's going to be. So yeah. And then lastly, 0 to Hero challenge, probably later this week, hoping for Wednesday or Thursday, but we'll have to see because I have a lot of other stuff going on as well. So we're going to just dive right in. So we'll start on the Death Knight. Yes, I actually was able to get a key done this week. I went Necrolord. That was a big problem I was having with Death Knight, I think, is the wrong Covenant choice. Just felt very clunky, and it just defensively and offensively, it just didn't make sense to be running it, though I kept doing it because I just like Venthyr. So I did go Necrolord, so I have the big grippy hands now. And Fleshcraft feels very sturdy. Big fan. But we are going to go check out our vault. Sanguine can also be the largest time loss in keys, where it can slow your group down anywhere to 10 to 20 to 30%, depending on how many mobs are getting stuck in Sanguine. So I always recommend trying to figure out the best way to kite the mobs in a specific pattern, typically either straight back in a line or in kind of circles. Knockbacks this week are huge, but we'll talk about those as we get there. Crit verse ring. Not super interested in taking that. Now, something I talked about with some of my guildies yesterday is actually just using my vault to get some quick gold. And I think that's what we're going to end up doing today, because I'm kind of happy with the 2 rings I have. I do have a 262, but it's the one that's from the auction house that gives you main stat proc. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to take coins this week. Kind of a boring vault, but it's better than not doing a key at all. So what we're going to do is we're going to come over here, grab 2 of these little caches, and we're just going to fucking dump these right into gold. And that's 6k gold for, well, not free, but better than 6k gold richer. All right, moving on to the DH. This was a character that last week I just literally just one and done. I wasn't really having it, to be honest. Quaking with Fell Devastation is the most troll thing, because most tanks don't have casts that they have to actively think about, and even if you have to actively think about it, it's typically going to be after combat. For example, on my prop paladin, sometimes after a pull I might start off healing my group, but it's pretty obvious to tell where quaking is. As a tank that has to channel a pretty major cooldown and then get can't kicked on it is really obnoxious. So I did leave it for a one and done. We'll see what we get here. Wicked Blade Pauldrons. Unfortunately, I'm going to probably just take coins again. Haste Mastery Shoulders always suck, and I already have 278 shoulders on. This will put me at 4 coins. I can use this to buy another 3k gold. This character has a little bit more gold than my others, but I'm kind of poor overall, a little less than 300,000, so vaults are not looking that great so far, right? All right, next we have the Paladin. This is a character that I've been really torn on keeping or dropping. I love my Paladin. It's really fun to play. Ooh, crit haste ring with socket. That's going to be good for Ret. Crit haste chest. So we'll take ring on this go. It's actually not too bad. The Paladin's really fun, but the way that loot is going to work next season with kind of having to raid, not having to is a strong word, but with a lot of good items coming from the raids, I'm going to feel obligated to pug. And man, pugging on 6 tanks in such a short season is kind of a huge pain in the ass. Now, of course, you can always kind of get out quick. I don't even need to socket that either. That sucks. You can always get out quick and pug the raids early and just get your quests done. But losing out on stat weighted items or very specific niche weapons or trinkets, you're not going to be able to actually buy or purchase enough of them, from my understanding. So it's going to be difficult to keep up 6 tanks, and that's a big reason I'm probably going to end up dropping these tanks, because I don't think some of them are going to be that great for pushing. And because of that, I don't think I'll have as much fun on them, though they'll still be viable. All right, the Warrior's been looking good lately. We're 268 now, so we're pretty geared. There are a few smaller things we might still want. Obviously, any 278 gear. My helm and my necklace are still 255, so pretty low. We're still sitting on that 249 scale. I have some Valor I'm going to upgrade it with. I think after another key, I can upgrade it 2 more times. But honestly, I was waiting to see what the vault would look like before I do that. This week and next week, I'm hoping to make some pretty big strides towards the 19 and 20 range, and then hopefully round out the Keystone Master. Once again, this video should be coming out later this week. I'm just still middle of the editing process, so bear with me. And we want to just double check we're prot, and let's open this vault up. Big O unfortunate. Kind of, not really. Okay, so we have two things here. We have Haste First Gloves, which are technically BIS statted, which is kind of nuts, but I think currently we're running pants that are also pretty strong. So the gloves are an option, but they're a smaller item level upgrade. But the helm that I'm wearing is only, I'll be able to, it's 255, so I'll actually be able to take this to the Creation Catalyst. But the problem with that is I don't have coins, and I don't have flux. So I won't be able to do anything with this right away, because it costs 1200 flux to be able to do that. Now, I do have a few options. I could fly around Zereth Mortis and try to find some chests quickly, or I'm going to just have to do a few keys before I can actually do anything with this. But I think we're going to go for the helm because it's just higher item level, and we'll call that a day. Are there any other ways to quickly get flux? I'm trying to think. There are a few like one-time chests in Zereth Mortis, but I'm pretty sure I picked them all up. Yeah, I think I picked them all up. We're gonna go check one spot. Do I happen to be sitting? Ooh, actually, I have this quest, the Patterns Within Patterns. Typically what I do is I pick this weekly quest up, and I'll just have it in my inventory. So as I do a few things in Zereth Mortis when I'm bored, or when I'm like just doing the world boss each week, it'll slowly accumulate to get me to that point. And that'll reward 400 flux upon upon completing the quest. So that will get me to what I need. So we might do that later. So like I said, Warrior Challenge coming out. I'll also be streaming some more keys probably this week, so stay tuned for that. Out of the couple of tanks that I have, aka all of them, I'm probably going to end up continuing to play my Brewmaster Monk and my Guardian Druid. And there's going to be reasons for that, hence why I'm going to actually be doing a tier list video later today as well, hopefully, fingers crossed. Because I think Brewmaster is actually going to be a little bit stronger next season. This guy's a sick Mog, dude. That helm looks really good with this T-Mog. That's awesome. I think Brewmaster Monk's going to be a little bit stronger this season, or next season, than it is now. And I think Blood DK is going to fall off a little bit. And with those two facts in mind, I think Brewmaster Monk's actually going to be kind of meta. Oh, man. I missed this plate set for Alliance characters. Damn, it's so clean. Anyways, let's see what we need on this character, because I don't think I need that much things. Like, I still don't have a scale. Better bracers would be cool, and I think that's pretty much it. Like, better gloves, but I'm not really looking for too much. Yeah, I think that's it. Like, very minuscule amount of gear that I need. That's a word. Holy shit. This is what I get for rolling out of bed and recording this. Oh my god. This is a pretty big cloak. It's a cloak I'm already wearing from the raid, but with avoidance on it is actually kind of massive. This should give me about 2% avoidance, which means it's like a 2% roughly damage reduction from AoE abilities, which is kind of fucking nuts, actually. Oh god. Neck, definitely not taking. Mastery's bad stat. Crit, so obviously like crit's good, but like I'm already wearing this neck with a haste versus avoidance plus cosmic healing. So Laze is cool, but it's not a trinket I probably would run. And then this chest I already have with speed on it on tier. Now the other thing I could do is I could forget the cloak because I already have it. Avoidance isn't a stat that's necessarily required, and I could go for a socket on my helm. But I would also hate passing up tertiary stats because avoidance is so big. Like, avoidance is really big when you start getting to higher keys. How much avoidance is it? It's 43 avoidance. How many sockets do I have already? Because I have 3 coins. That doesn't really help me at all. I have socket here, socket here, socket here. I'm missing socket on helm and bracers, but bracers aren't top item level yet. Wouldn't 16 versatility be better than 43 avoidance? I mean, that's barely a % of verse, where that's like 2% AoE, less AoE damage. That's actually kind of a hard decision, especially. Oh man, dude, I'm getting tertiary stats like for days on this character. I think I go cloak. If I go cloak, I can get socket next week. Yeah, I think I'm gonna go cloak. Fuck it. Sockets are dumb. Oh my god, avoidance, holy shit. We have cloak enchants in the bank, I think. There it is. Take one of these bad boys. Where did that cloak go? Oh, here it is. That's funny because one of these dropped the other day for my raid team, and I like I didn't throw a fit, but I was a little upset because we just like rolled off on it because it was tertiary stats, and like we typically value just raid progression in that atmosphere. Like, yeah, it's nice to try to funnel people who push Mythic Plus, but at the end of the day, it's a raid team. So we rolled off on it, and I lost the roll horribly. Like, I rolled like a 6, which is like a 1 in 100 chance. That's crazy. And the other guy rolled like a 92 or whatever, and I was really sad that I lost the avoidance cloak, but now we have it, and I'm now at 11. I went up 3% avoidance, and I have 9% leech. Look at these tertiary stats. I have speed, which is like kind of whatever. Avoidance, 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 leech. And then I think on this side, I have ring with leech and blood spiller with leech, which I got actually last night from my GM looted it on his brewmaster in a Dosky when I was playing Windwalker. And I was begging him for it. And I felt kind of bad because I was like, yeah, well, I want the leech, but he gave it to me after running that key. And I'm super fucking happy that I now will be a healing god. I kind of regret not taking a socket, but that's okay. Last-ish but not least, we have our druid. These next few weeks, my group plan, I hope that we plan on pushing keys. I don't think I'm going to be pushing on the druid anymore. It's just in a point right now where my brewmaster monk, I can play it a little less great, I feel like, and do way more on it, which is always fucking great. Oh my god, did I just get my BIS boots? I already have a codex. No tertiary. This is best in slot, honestly. I just got my moccasins. Wait, that's actually fucking crazy. That's great. Coins get me nothing. They get me they get me flux, which I don't need because I have 7,000. They get me gold, which I kind of need. They get me socket, which I don't need at all. Part of me just wants to take these boots for transmog. These are really good boots. These are probably the best in slot boots you can get for a bear. Low haste, high verse, really high verse. I just like the way that my build is currently set up is trying to value avoidance a little bit higher with still having decent stats, and I've already hit my haste break point, so I don't need to swap. I have unity on belt. I have this unity that's already on my belt with verse mass socket, and then I can put boots on, but then I lose avoidance for pretty much no stat gain at all. I think I would literally take this for transmog and nothing else. But then what happens next week? Ah, screw it. Season's almost over. I'm sure I'll kill Prototype Pantheon another time or two, but I don't want to sit here all day and try to weigh these options. Monk is actually probably one of the strongest tanks this week, because what's going to happen is, let's say I'm fighting these mobs, right? Actually, this is a probably horrible way to explain this. But let's say I have some mobs pulled here, and they're attacking me, and they're at 10% health. And I'm just going to keep backing up slowly. And then as they start to die, they're going to leave Sanguine behind them. And I can always drop Ring of Peace to knock them towards me. On storming like Sanguine Tyrannical week, most mobs you shouldn't actually need to kite from unless you're doing like crazy high keys and like you're trying to kite from enraged haymakers in Soleil's Gambit, there probably isn't much of a reason to use it for anything else. Never knock mobs away from you and then continue kiting in the same direction. So let's just say I'm doing the same thing and I'm moving backwards and I end up bringing them away from me, and I'm not going to just keep going along the same path. You want to sidestep and kind of kite them away from the Sanguine pool. Again, I'll try to put some video on stream for you guys, or on the video. This is a scary week for a few different pulls though in here, or in a few different dungeons. I'll quickly go through it like I normally do. I'm sure Drynos has already put out a video. There's a couple of mobs that can't be moved easily, and those are the kind of things you want to be careful of. So for example, in the other side, you have these Death Speakers. They can't be moved by any displacement effects. Most mobs in here can't be, or can be moved, except the Matriarch if you decide to pull them. They're not very efficient though. And same with like Arf, this guy, and the Dental Drill. So if you pull these with extra stuff and like their Sanguine pools, just keep in mind that you can't end up moving them. And then same in here with these Hexers. They cannot be moved either from displacements. So make sure you're kicking them. You can also use these pillars here as line of sight to get them out of wherever they are. They typically have breaks between their casts, so they will move after every cast a little bit. So it's not too difficult to move the Hexers. And the priests run away when they're feared, or when they're low. So that's a pretty easy thing to actually handle in here. Halls of Atonement per usual. Oops. It's a weird route. Shards, of course, cannot be moved by displacements. So either you need to hard focus it, or you need to start kiting mobs away during its thrash. Let's say all these mobs are at like 10% health, and this guy's thrash starts. Pull the mobs away so he doesn't get stuck in it. Most time lost in Halls of Atonement is going to be on the shards. Also, wait to pull Groundskeepers in, since they have about a third of the health pool. This is set to a 20. You can see that this guy has 1.6 million health, 1.59. And these guys have 400k. So about, what, a fifth of the health pool that these guys have. So just be a little careful on that. And then nothing else in here actually can't be moved. So this is actually a pretty easy dungeon, per usual. Mist of Tirna Scythe, these giant tree dudes, if you decide to pull them, they don't drop Sanguine because you technically don't kill them, but they do have a ton of health, and these guys will heal them. These guys' hair looks so weird. That's so fucking... This is like GoldenEye texture. That's so weird. Anyways, those guys can't be moved. You have to be a little careful on these bow breakers, but typically it's not a problem. Because you're only typically pulling the 2 of them. And then mostly through here, the Staghorns, these big boys, they can't be moved. So just be a little careful. Like, basically, try to focus them, but always be moving. They typically have a break within their casts. Kick them right away and just kind of make like little circles on these platforms. Try to move to more open space. Like, being up on this little bridge here is bad, but this area that they're located in is actually pretty easy to kite around in. Empowering. Plaguefall, once again, these big guys at the very start. I typically will pull these slimes onto this guy. That's really scary if this guy like spell cues his Plague Belch or Belch Plague. The Bladed Spinebreaker, of course, you need to be careful of because of the whole can't move during Sanguine. Most of the time, like, these slime claws run away before they start, like when they're dying, so they'll either die out of range, or they'll eventually come back, but then you get a bunch of free damage onto this guy. Really be careful on these slime tentacles. So a common pull my group does is we pull this slime here, and this defender are not attached to this pack. So what we do is we tag the slime, we pull it back to this group, and then we tag this side, which also brings in relics. These guys all drop Sanguine, so you want to make sure you're keeping them about 5 to 10 yards away from this tentacle. What you can do is you can place yourself. We're going to just get rid of that. You can place yourself along the side of him and keep the mobs on the right-hand side of you, and this guy's going to be on the left-hand side, or flip it depending on the way you're facing. And when Sanguine drops, it won't actually go underneath the slime. But when Sanguine drops underneath this thing, you're not killing it. It's a huge pain in the ass. It's gonna continue doing a bunch of damage to your group. So this pull you want to be very, very careful of. At the end of the day, you could just CC this slime out, do the tentacle by itself, then pull everything in later. That's just the only thing. And then, like, these snipers, they can be moved with displacements, but they are a huge pain to move without displacements. So try to kite or tank the mob slightly off center so Sanguine doesn't drop underneath the sniper. Next we have Sanguine. Sanguine has a bunch of mobs that can't be moved very easily. Let us go back to the front of the dungeon. So things like the Mist Dancer can't be moved easily, the Brute can't be moved too easily. So this is a dungeon where you kind of want to kite in small circles, especially once these like ticks start getting pretty low. These small ticks that fly in, they don't bolster, or not bolster, they don't drop Sanguine, but these bigger ticks do. So that's when you want to be careful when you have like a Brute. Sometimes people will chain this Brute into this pole here. This is when you want to be careful. Most of these poles are pretty actually like safe. There's a lot of casters though. Casters are what you need to be careful of. This is a place where it's like as soon as Sanguine's drops or something's low, like kick and get it out. Or what you can do is, if you're a monk for a very specific example, when everything is low in this pole, the Overseer is typically going to die last. When these guys are at like 5% health, ring them away, like Ring of Peace them away from this mob, and then they'll die not underneath him, because when he starts doing his like chain, for example, and people aren't breaking it, he's just going to get stuck in Sanguine. You can't move him once this starts, and not everyone breaks, so you have to be careful. Most people in higher keys will break this, but man, there's some 15s where people just fucking face tank that shit. Yeah, like, again, like the Wardens here, this guy doesn't move very easily. I mean, he moves easily, just he can't be forced. And that's really it. The Gauntlet's not bad. The only thing that drops Sanguine are the Cadets. So what I recommend doing is taking this literally one pull at a time. Do this with Call. Push Call. Once you push her and she runs away, then do the Cadets. Because the Cadets, again, drop Sanguine, and then you want to kite these back. Directly back. So their Sanguine drops along the side of the hallway, then you can run right back up. This next pull is probably the scariest with Call on it, because there are 3 Cadets. All 3 of these will drop Sanguine. This is another point where I actually, once I pull Call, I just kite these guys back slowly down the hallway. Once their Sanguine drops, then you can move her back up, get the lantern, pull these guys in. These guys do not drop Sanguine, the Acolytes. And then same with this next pull. This pull is safe. Call leaves, then these guys will drop Sanguine again. So that's something people always forget. The Cadets are affected by the weekly effects. They bolstered, which was really scary. Like once you killed like 4 of these and the Gargans came in, and then there's 2 of these who are like 4 stacks bolster, that fucking hurt. But again, these guys, just to reiterate, they do drop Sanguine. These guys do not drop Sanguine. All right, Spires. Spires is pretty easy. The only thing that's really weird is the Goliaths. When Goliaths are low, or when they have 0 energy, once they have 0 energy, you want to move them, because when they have 0 energy, that means they're going to most likely cast their recharge anima, and that's when they will sit there and you have to break through their shield. Now, while Sanguine won't affect their shield, it will affect their health pool. So if they start channeling this in a pool of Sanguine, they'll typically shoot back up to, I mean, they'll shoot up 20, 30, 40% of their health pool, especially if multiple pools are underneath the Goliath. So typically what I would do in this pool is focus the Goliath, cleave off of on everything else, and then as soon as this guy starts recharging, pull all of the rest of the mobs off of him, kill them, and then the Goliath, yes, he'll have 100 energy again. You need 2 kicks then at that point, but it's better than have him heal. And then another kind of weird pull actually are these dudes, because of their hurl casts. As soon as the tank moves out of melee, they start just chucking spears. This is a pull. If you do this, you have to be very, very controlled with your damage, or the tank just needs to fucking run. Get them all low. These Ether drivers will die first, and then the tank just needs to fucking book it. And once you're out of range, these guys will start running after you. But most likely you're going to get some healing on this, which is not that great. Besides that, Sanguine is typically pretty decent in here, because most things can be force moved, or a lot of things have similar health pools. Yeah, so that's pretty much Spires. Next we have Necrotic Wake. Necrotic Wake is a weird one. If you are a group that pulls this guy onto stage, don't this week. Sanguine can get really nasty because these soldiers drop Sanguine. Blight Bags do not. So all these like little dudes who patrol around the room, this set here, these 2 guys, and then if you do, like, a lot of people pull this at the start. All of these guys do not drop Sanguine, but everything else does. Corpse Harvesters, big pain in the ass to move, not because they can't be kicked, but even when they are kicked, they just do Throw Flesh, which is a physical cast, so it can't be interrupted. So displacements are huge. Always target the Harvesters in every situation. On my Monk, this is typically what I'll save Touch of Death for, actually, because my group's dum-dum. If you end up doing Narzuda, be careful, because these guys will die much faster, the Sorcerers. Marauders are oddly deceptive because you think that they would be the priority target. Well, they are when they do their Bone Shatter, but typically they don't. Sanguine's not important enough because, yeah, they might get healed, but if you shatter this shield, they will instantly die. There's nothing that's too crazy in here with Sanguine, and nothing that you should be too careful of. Like, if you end up pulling the Skeletal Monstrosity, just don't pull them with anything. These dudes shouldn't drop Sanguine. I don't think they do. I can't remember. They don't bolster, so they shouldn't drop Sanguine. It's mostly the casters. Like, make sure you're just kicking casters to get them out of Sanguine. And then the Necropolis. There isn't anything... When you are doing these two mini-bosses, once they spawn in the Gauntlet, make sure you kill the Stitching Assistant first, because that guy, he constantly throws, like, flesh or whatever, and he constantly casts. Where this guy is actually movable by the tank, this guy is very difficult to move if you're the tank, unless you go off into this, like, super far corner. But Sanguine in here can be pretty controlled. There isn't anything, like, everything's movable for the most part. And if you ever can't move anything because it's just casting and no one's kicking, literally just go 50 yards away. They'll have to chase you. DPS will complain, but maybe they'll learn to kick. So, Theater of Pain is a very tame dungeon. The only thing that's a little weird for Sanguine in here is pulling the Bloodhorn into first boss. You need to make sure you're, like, on top of getting your kicks and then pulling the bosses away if you end up doing that. A lot of groups do this in hierarchies. They'll pull the Bloodhorn. They skip past these three, pull Bloodhorn into boss. That's weird. And then this pull here, all of these souls drop Sanguine. So if you do, like, this thing where you run out, you grab 6 and pull them back into this hallway here, you need to continue running through this hallway and typically, like, around the corner into this area, because they're going to try to, like, cast if the tank is within line of sight. But if the tank keeps running, they're going to just kind of trot along, and then they're going to drop Sanguine pools behind them. That's the best way I found to kite them out. If not, you just need really controlled DPS and you should kill them all at the same time. But in a pug, that's kind of hard to do. But what I mean by that is you literally just run and you hug this wall and you start coming up and you just you LOS them. You create line of sight. You could also do it going into this area if you want, but I found that this is the easiest one because it creates multiple junctions of line of sight. But outside of that, like, Sanguine's not too crazy. Maybe on the Soulstorm mob? Maybe? Ah. We don't want that arrow there. Right before these guys die, try to get them out or pull them away if the Soulstorm, if the Portal Guardian's doing Soulstorm. That's when it's going to get healed from Sanguine if these guys die. So pull them off a little bit once a Portal Guardian is not movable. That's like the general rule of thumb. If a mob isn't movable because of a cast or because of a channel, pull the mobs off of it. That works in halls, it works in spires, it works in theater. And probably some other places too that I can't think of. Streets of Wonder is actually fucking easy on Sanguine. So these mobs, a lot of them will port to the tank, so it's very easy to get things out of Sanguine. I think it's the security. They do the teleport, right? So they teleport to a location. This has like a 15-second internal cooldown, but as soon as the tank is like more than 10 yards away, they'll actually teleport instantly to you. So if they're stuck in Sanguine, literally run. And also the thing about this place is you're typically pulling pretty small. You're typically doing like 4. Maybe you're going big dick and you're going 6 targets here. Sometimes people do 5, but that's not very likely. But that's like 3. You might do 4 here. You might only do 2. But typically the pulls in here are really, really like small. And that's what I like about this place. And then again, if you're doing left side, which is kind of standard, this is just a fucking joke. You pull, one mob at a time. You could maybe double this up. And then like these dudes, right? Like if you're just pulling 2 or 3 at a time, Sanguine's typically very, very easy. And most of them don't have any crazy cast sequences. The only thing that I would say is a little weird is if you have an enforcer. Like if you decide to pull center trash like this guy, he can't be moved, he can't be displaced, he's not affected by CC. And they have a lot more health than other mobs. They're fairly efficient when it comes to like health to percent ratio. But again, getting them sanguinated isn't the best bet. So if you keep this room very small, or the pool's pretty small, it's never going to be a problem. The problem is these mobs, they run away when they're low, but if you kill them fast enough and a Sanguine does drop, like, Sanguine gets really weird, because, like, the Murlocs might run off in, like, a bunch of different directions, but let's say 2 of them run off in the same-ish direction, and 1 drops Sanguine. When it comes back, they're going to get Sanguine healed, and it's just, like, kind of obnoxious. It's weird, because, like, you want to prevent them from running away, like, things like Binding Shot is a great tool for this, but Binding Shot also keeps them in Sanguine, so it's kind of like this weird kiss curse. Most hunters love this, or like hunters are really good in this key because of Binding Shot, but Sanguine kind of counters that. So you kind of have to just like let them run away if you can, or bind them, like try to CC only if they're running towards a pack that's going to be like detrimental to your run and going to affect you. Yeah, there's nothing that's crazy. Like most things, these guys teleport. They do their when they do their energy slash, they'll actually like port to the target. These guys need a lot of kicks, but if you just kick them, they'll move out of Sanguine really easily. These mobs can't be moved, but I either recommend if you are gonna pull like this pack together, right? These 2 packs, focus the Starseer or focus these guys, and then constantly be moving the Starseer away. Is the Pulsar affected by Sanguine? I don't know. Actually, if you know that, can you let me know? Because that's going to be good to know for next season. Also, I don't think I've ever had Sanguine drop underneath a Pulsar, so I can't think off the top of my head. Because I feel like if that happens to you, you're never going to forget that moment. When a Pulsar is getting Sanguine healed in a higher key, imagine. Oh my god, you would just get wrecked. But that's pretty much it. That covers it for the dungeons, I think. The pulls I would be careful on. Let me know if there's anything that I missed. Again, kiting is your friend this week. Not spastic fucking Zerg all over the place. You still want to keep mobs controlled. You want to keep them in AoE effects, Earthquake, Rain of Fire, Frozen Orb, all of those fun little AoE abilities on the ground. Use Ring of Peace to your advantage. Don't kite things through Sanguine. Don't knock them back so you're kiting them. If you're going to knock them away from you, shift the angle that they're going to be moving at. And be careful of channeling mobs. Outside of that, it's not a bad week. The next 2 weeks after this, though, are going to be really good for pushing, and then the season's over. So good luck if you're pushing for rank 1, or if you're just trying to get KSM. The next couple weeks are definitely easy to do that. KSM, KSH. And yeah, I will catch you all in the next one. Take care.